Great, so we're here this morning and we're looking at an Allen Heath GL2400. This is probably one of the most versatile and most common boards you'll see at a church service. And my goal is not really to teach an engineering class, but to start out with something really basic and get the general people that are interested familiarized with the board. The good thing is that boards are very similar, so even if you're not using an Allen & Heath or you're using one of the lower end Allen & Heaths, a Mix Wizard or something like that, most of what we're going to go over makes a lot of sense. Looks a little intimidating, right? This happens to be a 32 channel board, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way across 32 channels. 2 of the channels are stereo. We're using this in our church so that the music that would be played off the computer can be turned up or down here. And then we're using a Telecaster, and I'll be going over that doing some other lessons on a Telecaster. But the Telecaster is what we use to video our services, as well as put them up on YouTube, put them up on Ustream, and also broadcast to the other televisions within our church system. And we'll be giving a class later on that. So what I wanted to do the first segment of this, and I'm just going to be doing short 10-minute clips on church sound. And so one of the first things I wanted to do was kind of help take some of the intimidation away. And one of the biggest things that can help with that is, I'm kind of looking for just something to cover something up with. If we take a book and we cover up everything on that side, and I take another book and I cover up everything on this side, and basically I'm left with this one channel down the middle, right? If I understand what's going on this channel, what every one of these buttons do, and really they're not that complicated, we're going to go over them quickly. But once I understand what each one of these things do on this one channel, so if I understand one single channel of this 32 channel board, I've got figured out what this channel does, and I work at just figuring that out and getting that clear in my mind. Basically I have the whole board figured out, because what happens on this channel is the exact same thing that happens on every other channel of the board. So what we're going to do in this first clip is simply try to familiarize you with the board, familiarize you with what each one of these buttons and knobs and sliders does. And once you've got that and you can reflect that back and you have a good understanding of what those things do, then you're going to understand all of this section and all of the other section. And then at a later time, we're going to go over here, this kind of central master section is what we call it. And this is just overall volume and routing and things like that. Right now what we're trying to do is make sure that when you come to one of these channels, and I'm not sure if you can see how this is written here, but it says voice 1, voice 2, voice 3, guitar 1, guitar 2, guitar 3. When you come and look at this, what I want to know is that when you look at guitar 1, you can look all the way up this channel. This is a single system. This whole thing does one channel, right? It's everything that has to do with guitar 1. The lead guitar, the principal guitar that's plugged in down at the stage is plugged into guitar 1, and it's controlled by all of these knobs, and I can control just guitar 1. And once I get a handle on what each one of these things does, then I basically overcome the complication, and that's the same thing it does in guitar 2, the same thing it does in guitar 3, etc., etc. So I hope that takes a little of the intimidation. So really all we got to learn is this master section and one of these channels. The rest of the board is just a repeat of the same stuff. So don't get intimidated. Let me bring the camera a little closer and get you a little closer look at the board, and we'll go over some of these details. Great, so here we are, a little closer look at the board. Again, as we start, we're going to just take a look at this one channel. And so this very first knob that says plus 48V. You push it on to turn it on, lift it up to turn it off. What it is phantom power. It's a small wattage of electricity, and when it's pushed down, it sends a low amount of electricity through the mic cable down to the stage, so that a condenser mic or a high-end vocal mic or a high-end overhead drum mic or some other mics have a power. They need a little bit of energy. So rather than have a battery in the mic, we actually just push this down so that it sends that little voltage. It does, if you add up a bunch of them, it does give you a little bit of buzz in the board sometimes, so it's best to have them all up unless you need them. But if you have a particular mic that someone's plugged in, it's not working, you just simply push it down and see if the mic comes on. If it does, then you've got a phantom power mic down at the other end of the stage, and that's how you know. This next button is polarity. It just changes the way the two wires go, so not something you're going to use a lot. It is an option. If you've got a buzz, if you've got a mic, a bass guitar, something that's buzzing, we keep it down on our wireless mic for our senior pastor. It just sometimes by pushing the polarity, it'll just change the way the wires plug in down there, and it might cut out a buzz. And then there's some other things as it pertains to cycles and stereo mics, but we're not going to use that here in church service. That's only going to be in a recording studio. So basically, you leave them up. If you've got a buzz and you just want to try something to see if you can get rid of it, you push down the polarity key. It may get rid of the buzz, it may not, but typically we're going to leave those in the up position. This next button is a line cut button. Really, this button and this knob are working together. These control, between this button and this knob, controls the amount of power, the amount of energy that's coming into the board. So this cuts the power that would be coming in, for example, from a lead guitar or a bass guitar. It cuts it in half. This knob turns it up or down. So if I've got someone singing very quietly, I may need to leave this up and turn it up a little bit. If I've got somebody that's got a bass guitar and they're pushing it through an amp and then it's coming into the board, into the signal here very strongly, I may need to cut it in half and then turn it down even a little bit more. So we'll come back to this because this is going to be the tool along with the meter that we're going to look at in a little bit that we're going to use to zero the board. But these are basically gain adjustments. So I can cut the gain or the input signal by half by pushing the button down, or I can let it be full strength by leaving the button up. Then by using this knob, I can also turn the amount of gain or the amount of signal or power that's coming from a mic or a guitar or a bass up or down by spinning this knob left or right. And then last but not least in this section, this is the input section, is this button that says HPF, which stands for high pass filter, and then it's got the little line with 100 hertz under it. What that is by pushing this down, anything that's lower than 100 hertz is cut out on a slow gradual slope out of the scale. So 100 hertz is basically the bass knob on your radio or on your boom box. If you turn the bass up, what you're turning up really is this 100 hertz. And this is going to take everything from your bass knob down, basically the very lows, the vibration feeling music, what you boom, boom, you know, what you feel when you're listening to bass, and it's going to cut it out of that. Useful if you've got a sensitive mic on the stage and you're hearing somebody, you know, move their feet around or walk on the stage and it's rumbling up through the mic stand. By cutting that, you can take that rumble away, you can take that real low end away. So that's basically this first input section, and we're going to come back to that later.